A swarm of drones is heading towards Tel Aviv, Israel. Sirens pierce the night. The skies light up as the most advanced air defense systems on the planet spring into action to intercept the threat. It looks like a scene of pure destruction, but behind the flashes and explosions lies a masterpiece of lethal financial engineering. A ruthless mathematical calculation that is terrifying the generals of the Pentagon and Israel more than the explosives themselves. Imagine having to spend $2 million to destroy an object that costs only $20,000. It is a perfect trap. Shooting them down means surviving today, but condemning oneself to bankruptcy tomorrow. Letting them through, on the other hand, means watching one's own cities burn. The West is forced to choose between physical destruction and economic collapse. This is the logistical and economic nightmare in which the United States, Israel, and their allies find themselves today. And the weapon responsible for this nightmare is not a fifth-generation fighter jet. It is an Iranian-made drone built with commercial components and an engine that sounds like a lawnmower. The protagonist of this revolution is the Shahed 136, nicknamed the moped of the skies for its unmistakable noise. But why did Iran focus on this? Because of decades of international sanctions, Tehran could not compete with the West in building advanced fighter jets. They started building low-tech but extremely effective weapons. A single Shahed drone costs between $20,000 and $50,000. It is made of lightweight composite materials, uses civil-derived piston engines, and a modified commercial GPS guidance system. It has no cameras for remote control. You input the target coordinates, and it flies in a straight line until it crashes. It is a disposable weapon. Its strength is not intelligence, but price. This is where Iran's tactical brilliance turns into a financial drain for the West. When a swarm of these drones is launched, it cannot be ignored. Each carries about 40 to 50 kilograms of explosives. The Shahed 136 has a delta design, a wingspan of about 2.5 meters, and a length of 3.5 meters. It weighs 200 kilos in total, but of these, fully 50 are a pure explosive warhead concentrated in the nose. But the real nightmare for Western intelligence is the launch method. The Shahed does not need runways. Its launch system is camouflaged. From racks that contain up to 5 drones and a battery in order to take off from a standstill without a runway, the drone uses a rocket system called JATO. A solid booster literally shoots it into the sky. But to shoot them down, the United States and Israel must use the weapons they have at their disposal. An interceptor missile from the Israeli Iron Dome system costs about $50,000. A Stinger missile costs $400,000. If the United States uses an SM-2 missile from a destroyer in the Red Sea to shoot down an Iranian drone, they spend over $2 million. If the enemy launches 100 drones, they spend $2 million. To defend itself, the West must spend $200 million. This is called the economic war of attrition. The goal is not just to hit the target, but to empty the enemy's coffers. Iran has revolutionized its military doctrine around a key concept: the swarm attack. Modern air defenses are incredible, but they have a tracking limit. If you launch 5 drones, they will all be shot down. But if you launch 50 simultaneously from different directions, followed by ballistic and cruise missiles, the defensive system becomes saturated. It will run out of missiles or reaction time, and some drones will get through. Cheap Iranian drones have rewritten the rules of the game. They have proven that the technological superiority of a trillion-dollar empire can be challenged by plastic weapons guided by commercial chips. For the West, the challenge of the coming decades will not only be to develop better weapons, but to develop cheaper weapons like military lasers capable of shooting down these threats at $1 a shot. The war of the future will not be won by those who have the most sophisticated weapon, but by those who can economically sustain the conflict the longest. But there is a detail in this story that smacks of an atrocious mockery. When military engineers dismantle downed Iranian drones, they make a shocking discovery. Iran has been under heavy international sanctions for decades, yet the guts of these drones are full of Western technology. They find microchips from Texas companies, Japanese lenses, and engines designed in Europe. How is this possible? Tehran has created a global ghost network. Using shell companies in Asia and the Middle East, they buy dual-use components, that is, civilian technology used for washing machines, toy drones, or cars, and smuggle them into their military facilities. The West finds itself, ironically, spending millions to be bombed by its own commercial technology. But emptying the enemy's coffers is not the only strategy. The Iranian tactic has just evolved into something even more insidious. Iran has launched ballistic missiles equipped with cluster munitions on central Israel and Tel Aviv. This is an escalation that literally changes the rules of engagement. Here is how it works and why it is a defensive nightmare. Instead of striking the ground with a single, massive explosion, the missile opens up at high altitude. It releases dozens of small bomblets, containing about 2.5 kilograms of explosives each, that rain down in a fan shape, scattering over a huge radius of up to 8 kilometers. For sophisticated defense systems like the Iron Dome or Arrow missiles, this is an algorithmic short circuit. Instead of having to track and intercept a single incoming rocket, defensive computers suddenly find themselves having to calculate the trajectories of dozens of mini targets falling simultaneously. The system becomes saturated, and inevitably some of these bombs get through. And there is an even darker twist. Many of these submunitions do not explode on impact. They remain unexploded on the ground, effectively transforming into anti-personnel mines scattered through streets and populated centers, forcing Israeli authorities to isolate entire urban areas and prolonging the terror and damage well beyond the sound of the sirens. Iran is already preparing its next move, and it is not a new type of explosive, but a business model. Tehran has realized that physically shipping crates of drones by air or sea is risky, expensive, and subject to interception. So it did what a ruthless multinational corporation would do. It started franchising the rights. Iran no longer just exports drones, it exports factories. The most striking case is that of Yelabuga in Russia. Here, Moscow has built a giant industrial plant based entirely on Iranian blueprints, with the goal of producing over 6,000 drones a year directly on its own soil. But it is not just Russia. They have turned asymmetric warfare into a sort of open source technology for sanctioned nations. We are facing a historical, epical shift. The trillion-dollar Goliath is held hostage by plastic weapons, commercial chips, and lawnmower engines. The real question today is no longer who has the most destructive weapon, but who will run out of money to fight first. If modern warfare has become a brutal spreadsheet, at the moment, the West is in the red.